There is one thing which I want to repeat here once again. That on this platform, we analyze Kenyan politics. And our analyses are normally based on current affairs, the body languages, and our own observations. And we do it without fear, favor, or any other contradiction. And that's why when President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga went to the United States of America for that national prayer breakfast meeting, there are certain observations which we made. And some we decided to dissect for you guys. But some we did not. For example, I observed something between Raila Odinga and his daughter Rosemary Odinga when they posted that photo together, because there was a lot in that dressing code. And then again, we did not dissect the picture of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and Rosemary Odinga sitting together. And Uhuru Kenyatta was sitting between Raila and Rosemary. And you saw how Uhuru and Rosemary were basically sitting close to each other. But we are waiting for the right time to analyze that observation. And again, when President Uhuru Kenyatta returned back into the country, because remember, former president had just died before they left. So when President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived into the country, and Raila Odinga did not arrive together with him, Kenyans questioned a lot of things. And for those who followed the event in the United States of America, there's one thing which was being propagated, that Raila Odinga was locked out from White House when Uhuru and Donald Trump were meeting. So when Uhuru came and Raila did not come, a lot of questions really lingered in my mind. And I thought maybe there's something. But indeed there was something. There was the reason Raila Odinga did not come back with Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila Odinga traveled straight, or Raila Odinga traveled straight or flew straight from the USA to Addis Ababa for the African Union Summit. And that's the subject of the discussion today. And there's a video which I created a long time ago, how Raila Odinga is likely to use the Africa Union role to help him in 2022. And by that time, I opined that probably Uhuru Kenyatta was strategically placing Raila Odinga at the AU with a view of 2022 politics. At the moment Raila Odinga arrived in Addis Ababa, the first post he made, let me just check here, the first post he made on Facebook, that was on 9th, held talks with Africa Development Bank President Dr. Akiumi Adeseni on the sidelines of African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We agreed to work together to mobilize stakeholders in realizing the potential of the Inga hydropower project in DRC. We are also advocating for the Grand Inga Dam project to be adopted as the continental project. That was the first post he made there. And then the next day, Raila Odinga attended the meeting and photos started circulating. And I got myself asking myself, why was Raila Odinga finding it so important to fly straight from the United States of America to Addis Ababa, while President Uhuru Kenyatta was coming and the nation Kenya was mourning. My expectation was that Raila Odinga was going to fly with the President Uhuru Kenyatta directly to Kenya and lead the nation in mourning, because a date had actually been set for that. And I concluded that Raila Odinga flew direct because that AU meeting was so significant and dear for him. And I'm going to narrow it using 3 steps or 3 subtitles. The first one is the photos which came out of that event. If you go to Raila Odinga's Facebook page on basically on 9th, if you go to his Facebook page, Raila Odinga is posting, joined leaders from our continent and beyond at the opening ceremony of the AU Summit 2020. We look forward to more in the year ahead under the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa. That's the South African president. He's actually taking the reign of at the AU, because it's normally rotational. He's actually taking it from the Egyptian president, from the president of Egypt. And the photos he shared there were very interesting. Most of those photos had Raila Odinga and various heads of states, either consulting, laughing, or discussing. And when those photos were shared, basically, I thought maybe these guys were mobilizing for a vote. Or maybe there's a way Raila Odinga had been sent by President Uhuru Kenyatta to represent Kenya. Because I also saw the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Rachel Mamo, there. And because the Deputy President was not representing the President, William Ruto was not representing Uhuru Kenyatta, I thought maybe the President, in his own wisdom, decided to send Raila Odinga to that meeting. So what was the purpose of distributing or sharing these photos? Basically, it's networking. So Raila Odinga is using this African Union to network. And because we know in Africa, you can't lead without a proper network. And I normally give the examples of the IGAD, the example of East African Community, the example of SADC, I give the example of African Union. Anytime elections are held in this continent, whether those elections are not free and fair, they always give a verdict that the elections were free and fair. And the other day I was very sick, for example, when I saw Thabo Mbeki, the former South African president, because he was also in this meeting, giving a bill of health to an election which was being disputed. An election in Malawi where the court had actually nullified, but he was still giving it clean bill of health. So that's basically what they did to Kenya in the last election. So my thinking is that Raila Odinga is networking with these African leaders so that in case he will be contesting, he's going to be on the right side of history. And the fact that his friend is now the head there, and he has several other friends as heads of state, probably that networking is what he was doing. So that's one thing I observed. Then the second thing was the election of Cyril Ramaphosa as the rotational chair of the African Union. Remember, Ramaphosa and Raila Odinga are very close friends for a very long time. And why is that appointment, why is his election as the chair in 2020 going to be significant for Raila Odinga's politics? I know that's the question most of you are asking. Raila Odinga is the high representative for infrastructure, which means for him to succeed in infrastructure, he needed someone who understood the need for investment in infrastructure. And that's why I shared with you the first post he made there with the director of Africa Development Bank, I'm talking about Inga Dam, which is the biggest dam, hydroelectric dam in Africa. So basically, with the Thabo Mbeki at the helm, Raila Odinga can basically realize his dream for infrastructure development in Africa. I'm not sure whether he had friendship with the president of Egypt, Al-Assisi, who was the immediate chair. But with the entry of his friend Ramaphosa, he can easily realize that dream. And basically, I strongly believe that the fact that Ramaphosa was going to be installed as the next chair, that's why he had to be there physically. Because in politics, just like I keep on saying, things don't just happen like that. Raila Odinga had the option of coming to Kenya, gracing that 1 or 2 hours event at State House with Uhuru Kenyatta, then going back to Ethiopia. But he chose the Ethiopian route direct. And he had to stay there until Kenyans were now asking, where is Raila Odinga? Why is Raila Odinga not mourning with Mzee Moi? So that's number 2. Number 3 is what I can call the African Union political wing. How is that important to Raila Odinga? And how was his presence there important? Number 1, networking, which I've already explained as number 1, as the first part there. Number 2 is endorsements. As much as African elections or African countries are not yet used to endorsements, it's normally very important to get endorsements. One of the biggest challenges President Uhuru Kenyatta had in his second term was that he didn't get enough endorsements from fellow heads of states from Africa. If you go to East Africa alone, Tanzania never bothered to come even for his swearing in. They never even endorsed his presidency. It means, therefore, that for anybody to claim legitimacy in Africa, you need the endorsement. Whether those endorsements, just a minute, whether those endorsements, sorry, I was a bit distracted, whether those endorsements are from tyrants, from dictators, it doesn't matter. Because Africans in Africa, elections don't matter. What matters in Africa are the people who count the votes and basically those kinds of endorsements. That's why even in Sudan, they are still having a problem today. You go to many other African countries, even in Zimbabwe. I saw the president of Zimbabwe there with Raila Odinga. So that endorsement he will need. And lastly, is the role of African Union in observing the elections. What they normally refer to as election observers mission. Normally headed by Thabo Mbeki, a guy I have very low respect for. But those are the African leaders. Once they give it the clean bill of health, those elections clean bill of health, then it can be escalated. Then they can influence other bodies to do the same. And that's why I'm saying the meeting in Addis Ababa was so important to Raila Odinga, to an extent that he had to fly straight from the United States of America to Ethiopia. I don't know what you think. A lot of you guys have always accused me of reading too much, but that's what we do here. What we do here is simple. We analyze, we give scenarios. What if this happened? Why is this happening? Those are what we do here. And we've done it perfectly well with almost 85% accuracy. Most of the things we've said here have always turned out to be true. But I know a lot of guys are also accusing me of being biased. And I've kept on reminding them I'm not biased. When the tide will change against Raila Odinga, for example, or when the tide politically will change against President Uhuru Kenyatta, in my view, when it will change the tides, I'll definitely explain those to you without any favor or contradiction. Those who are accusing me of being biased, It's only because whatever I keep on saying here turn up to be the truth. And if you're bumping on this video for the first time, I want you to just do me one favor. Just take a second or two and hit the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this one, you get notified. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. I know so many of you guys always support this channel. In fact, tomorrow, is it tomorrow? Tomorrow? No. Tomorrow we are morning mowing. Tomorrow, no. Maybe Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm likely to do a video just to thank you guys. I'll give a shout out to some of the people who have been consistent here. I'll give a shout out to each one of you so that you can know that I really value the support you give this channel, especially those who leave their comments and those who give thumbs up. And thank you guys. Just one request I always make here. Give the video thumbs up if you like it. Give it thumbs down if you don't like it. Because from that, I'm able to know whether the video was good or whether the video was bad, so that I can know how to make improvements. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.